Hi, this is Misha, and today we took this little carbine out to the range today. This is a Vector Mini, and I guess you would technically consider this a true Uzi, or at least Uzi. It's not really a Uzi GI in 9mm. Vector Arms out of North Salt Lake City, Utah is really about the only American company to produce a clone, a copy of the Mini Uzi, at least in large numbers. Other companies have produced the full size, such as Century Arms with their UC9, but Vector is really known for their minis, and they've been building these for about 20 years now, and on and off in small batches and different runs and things. Got a little stovepipe. I owned one years ago, and it was a great little gun. And the only reason I sold that old one is I finally was able to luck into an original Preban. IMI Israeli manufactured action arms import Mini Carbine. But these are pretty uncommon. From about 87 through early 89, when they were banned from import by the Bush administration, only a few hundred, maybe 1,000 came in. Now, for a full story history on the Mini, we have a complete history of the Uzi video, so check that out. This is just a review of the Vector. But I thought I'd bring this out to show you some of the unique features. It has this wire side folding stock. The receiver is shorter than the standard Uzi. The handguard is shorter. We have Model B, which are actually Mini Uzi sights. And for import, IMI really went above and beyond. Instead of putting a 16-inch barrel on these, for whatever reason, they put a 19.8, so we can just call it a 20-inch barrel. Now, the reason they did that, they misinterpreted the laws. They know that the minimum length overall for a non-SBR, for a standard Title I firearm, is 26 inches. But the way the law is written, it actually is with the stock fully deployed, so you would measure from here to here. They didn't understand that, so they were measuring from here to here to get 26 inches, hence the ridiculously long barrel. The submachine gun would actually have an 8-inch barrel, 7.8 to be exact. It would end about right here. The funny thing is, the original IMI Model A and B, they came with 16-inch barrels. If you fold their stocks, are under 26 inches. They're actually about 24.5 to 25. So I don't know what the exact story is, but it's pretty funny. As I said, Vector started making a copy of both the full size and the Mini Uzi in the late 90s, early 2000s, and they've done several runs. A lot of people think that Vector is out of business. While they have gone through some legal challenges and a couple of ownership changes, one of the original owners from about 10 plus years ago got caught up in some hanky-panky with the American government, contract stuff involving China and the sanctions, nothing really directly reflecting to their firearms. It's been kind of on and off, but to be fair, they've been producing guns ever since. They never ever shuttered their doors, although at times manufacturing would slow. But in 2018, all the legal stuff is over. The current owner is free and clear. And they're starting to make a new line of Mini Uzis. And what's interesting to me, up here you see Vector Arms, Salt Lake City. Back here though, you see that this is actually built on an original Israeli IMI Uzi receiver. It's pretty neat. I mean, the Group Industries receivers they typically use are very good quality receivers, but it's neat that we have the actual Israel on the gun. It gives it a little bit better credence. The receiver is shorter, just like the Mini. We have a side folding stock, very similar. There's a few small differences. For one, this butt plate is solid versus being skeletonized on the Preban. And for another, the Preban just has a metal tube here. This is the same under, but they went ahead and put kind of a rubber shrink wrap over this tube. You can always remove it if you don't like it. But this gives a much better cheek weld. You don't have metal bouncing in, and if you live in a particularly hot or cold place, that's nice. So I don't disagree with that small addition. Has the Mini Uzi rotating sling swivel at the base of the folding stock. Now, the front sling swivels here, for whatever reason, they usually are shipping these on the right side, but luckily this front sling swivel is reversible. So it's essentially this is an ambidextrous sling arrangement. So if you wanted it on the left, just flip it around. Otherwise, this rotates fully too. We have the short front handguard. We even have the stubby bayonet lug, which isn't really good for a bayonet, but it's good for attaching devices. And they got the barrel right. They just did a 16.1 inch because that's all you need. So that's one benefit, I would say, over the original. We don't have a 20-inch barrel, so it's a little less goofy looking. And like the original, these barrels are quick detachable by unscrewing this nut, making an SBR project exceedingly easy. Now that's it. That's the good stuff. And in the general sense, these are very good clones of the originals, but there are some notable differences. For one, these come with the earlier so-called Model A style sights, not the mini sights. Also, we have a phosphated finish as standard, which IMI used early on, but by the time of the Mini, they were doing a paint over park. But the good news is Vector will offer a paint finish, a paint over park finish, for an extra sum. It's like $50 or $100 extra for the more IMI style finish. So that's an optional upgrade. And another difference is internal. On the originals, the front trunnion is actually skeletonized. Has little ovular cutouts to save on weight. This one doesn't have that, so it weighs just a couple ounces more in the front. And of course, this is built from a kit, and it does have some US parts, both for 922R purposes, but also just because Mini Uzi parts are not that easy to find, not when you need to have enough of them to go into production. So the barrel is Green Mountain, but it is chrome lined. And these seem to be quite high-grade barrels. I know a lot of people that own Uzi submachine guns, registered submachine guns, actually buy these Green Mountain barrels to use so they don't burn up their originals. It still feeds from the standard mags. So how did it shoot? In a word, very well. We had really no problems with it that we could relate to the guns. I brought out three or four surplus mags. One mag was a little hinky. The follower was kind of dipping down and presenting the cartridges at a bizarre angle. The gun worked with the mag fine, except one time it led to a light stovepipe, and the last round didn't want to feed because the base was too deep into the magazine. So I'm not going to blame the gun for that. That was clearly a mag issue. We didn't experience it with any of the other mags. So that's one failure we found, but that's the magazine. Just looking at it, you can even feel that it's a little goofy. But that's the thing you run with the surplus mags. It was otherwise reliable. It's still kind of stiff, not bad, but I mean, it is a new gun, and we're also using a very short receiver, so the travel distance isn't that far, so we need a strong spring. The trigger is pretty heavy, but at the same time, relatively clean. There's not a lot of grit. It's just heavy because you're releasing a striker. The grip safety is surprisingly not bad. It's not as egregious as some of them. It doesn't dig into your skin. The stock is quite stable. It's got a little vertical play, very little to no side to side, and that's literally the same as my Preban here. It too, it's just the nature of the stock, kind of like with an M4 stock. It's got a little vertical play, a little side to side. Of course, it's much older. It's got a little smoother bolt, but then again, it's been shot more. Trigger is still pretty heavy, and anyone who's ever owned an Uzi knows what I mean. So comparing the Vector, feels pretty nice. Maybe still a little rough from being new and parkerized, but I bet it'd wear in very nicely. The only other issue we had was on the first batch. We had a light primer strike or two. And at first we thought it might be the gun, but we quickly realized this wasn't the case. We were shooting Fiocchi 155, 115 grain, so the cheap stuff, and it was just giving trouble. Not only did it have a primer strike, or a primer fail to go off in this gun, it did in a Glock as well. So yeah, we clearly relate that. And that was the odd thing was, we had several boxes of that Fiocchi, and only that first box we tried there exhibited this issue. Out of the 50 cartridges, about 10 of them just had primers that failed to ignite, and we tried them in I think 4 different 9mm, both pistols and carbines. So I'm not going to blame this gun. The good news is we had several boxes of Fiocchi, and we were worried that the whole batch was crap. But none of the other boxes exhibited it, and we went through several of them today. I think I brought about 500 rounds of it. So luckily, it was just a fluke box. So again, I'm not going to blame the gun. In fact, this gun did better with only 1 or 2 light primer strikes than a couple of the others we brought out. So, but I'm just trying to be honest with you, but also in the spirit of being honest, it did it in a Glock 34 at that. So if you're going to condemn it for that, you got to condemn the Glock too. But no, I was actually very pleasantly surprised. It was a lot of fun. No real issues to speak of, especially considering it's brand spanking new, not broken in. We didn't even clean it or field strip it or grease it. We just took it straight out of the box, threw it in the barrel, and took it to the range. So just kind of a preliminary review here. These are shipping with a couple of mags, a mag loading tool, and an original military sling like this. So you get a few extras, plus they come with a manual. It's adorable because it comes on CD. Not that anyone has CD-ROMs anymore to view them with. And of course they have Vector's 5-year warranty, which is a respectable warranty in this day and time. So we thought we'd just share something to let you know that Vector is still out and about, still making minis, and now they're making them on Israeli receivers even. So we were doing kind of a 9mm day, and it seemed like a good time. These stocks are incredibly stiff when new, even on the IMIs, which is exactly what you want, because the only thing holding it open or closed is tension. So see, you fold it over. I guess you could theoretically use it as a foregrip as well. And as I said earlier, easy SBR project. After you obtain your stamp, take out the long barrel, either cut it down or just install a short 7.8-inch barrel. Drop right in. Well, if you have any questions, we'd do our best to answer them below. And if you like the video, please click like. And if you'd like to help support us get to the range, buy better ammunition, please click and check out the link to our Patreon page. This is Misha, and we'll catch you next time.